Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the HBCU, the podcast, the show, your favorite Instagram and YouTube and TikTok channel. With your host, Hashim the Dream. You already know what it is, and my co-host.
The rising good people, welcome to the dark side.
Oh,
Bobby
no.
A here,
Nope.
and
That's
our
crazy.
honorary host slash editor.
The eater.
Not Wally, not well. You are crazy for that.
Not the eater.
Today we'll be talking about, touching about a hot topic of this past week, past 7 days. Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp, ski, you know. Um if you don't know, Bobby knows. But his interview with Katt Williams, I hope you guys watched it. Any first thoughts? I could go first.
Brother, that first of all, let's talk about the virality of this episode. Like, I remember before I even knew it was a whole interview, I just saw a clip of him like talking about Cedric and talking about Steve and everything. And it was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes on Twitter. And I did not realize, like, I knew, like, knowing how Katt personality has always been, like, he's always been outspoken and he's always been against the grain, so to speak. But like something about this interview that's 3 hours, mind you, it was just like it just caught on fire virally. Like this shit is almost at 50 million views as we speak. Like I don't think I've ever seen an interview like viewership wise as much as that one. So off top, like that already shows like the impact of like everything that was said and just like what was done. So that's like my first thing that comes to mind. I don't know about y'all.
Sorry, I was just watching this guy.
What?
Anyway, it's because he was telling the truth, and people. The reason why it also took like caught traction is because people found the clips that he was referring to
Mm-hmm.
that proved that he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, this man really is fitting. And what else was he telling the truth about? You feel me?
So for reference, for some people who might live on the rock or may not be on social media and stuff, Katt Williams, obviously a legendary comic. He's been an actor in several dozen movies. He did an interview with Shannon Sharp, as Hashim alluded to, and in that interview, that's 3 hours. He came after Cedric the Entertainer for not being a writer. He came at him and Steve for stealing jokes, which people pulled up video footage of. He came at Ricky Smiley for wearing dresses as the only way that he's ever been, relevant, so to speak. He came at Kevin Hart. Fun fact on that too, he actually as he's actively going on tour, he's gonna have Kevin Hart's ex-wife on tour with him. I don't know if y'all heard about that.
How? Why?
Kevin Hart's ex-wife, Tori Hart, is a comedian apparently.
Since
And
when?
I don't know how long she's been a comedian, but apparently she's a comic. And she announced recently, as of this recording, that she is going to be on certain dates on Katt Williams' tour. So I don't know if there's anybody in the world that is a pettier person than Katt, but that made me giggle inside. I'm not gonna hold you. But Wale, what was your initial thoughts of everything that you saw from that?
Well, considering that Katt Williams at some point fell off the face of the earth, that's because I always found this man funny. He was a great entertainer. I remember the last movie I remember him was like Norbit, and obviously, next Friday, no, Friday after next, things
That
like
was his
that. And I'm
first.
like, where did he go? And then you saw the whole thing where he got into fights with kids and all that. Like he was getting trashed for a while on social media. Then this comes out, and now he's just airing out all the mess. And I'm like, oh, this kind of makes sense why he kind of faded to obscurity. Maybe not the whole thing, but this might be part of it. Like he
He got
wasn't,
blacklisted.
yeah, he wasn't going with the usual mold. And some of the stuff he was airing out made sense because I had known for years, like, there was someone else who said it. Maybe it was him in another interview, but there was someone else saying, oh, yeah, you see some of these other black comedians like dress up as women and whatnot, and they make them do that. That's their way in. And I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. And then, like I don't, that's why I don't get that many offers. I didn't do that shit. I wasn't folded in the mold. And when Katt Williams said that, I'm like, oh wow, this makes a lot of sense.
Well, to push back a little bit, Cat hasn't been in really obscurity. He's just been like in trouble with the law a lot. Like he's been arrested like
That's
like
what, yeah.
19 times and stuff. He's never been like a felony or anything like that, any
Yeah.
convictions, but he's been in movies, he's been in different roles. He was in a viral clip from School Dance. I'm sure you guys might not have heard the movie itself. I think Nick Cannon was the star of the movie, but it was a viral clip that
Oh,
went around
my
for
point is,
years.
compared to like Kevin Hart, even Dave Chappelle, despite his controversy, I haven't heard Katt Williams too much, as opposed to he wasn't like, I just haven't seen him that much in.
He's definitely, this has definitely put him in the forefront of media for the most that
Yes,
he's been in a
for a
long
while.
time.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think
people, yeah.
it's comedians don't always they're not always around. Like besides Kevin Hart, because he's just everywhere. But
Mhm.
like comedians, they have their like 2-3 years of doing their stuff, take a break,
hmm
get new
Mhm.
material, life stuff, and then come back. You know, Dave Chappelle wasn't gone for like 5-6 years,
A decade, actually.
decade.
Yeah, it was a decade.
Yeah, and
But
then we
also
only
like, but also like Cat has been touring. He's been doing shows and stuff. It's
yeah.
not when we. I don't want it to come off like he's been in obscurity, so to speak. He just hasn't been like in like the full
the
limelight to
limelight.
the degree that he's in now.
hmm
And I got to give credit to Shannon Sharp first and foremost before we dive deeper into the interview because I think he did a really good job doing the interview. Like a lot of times when you see interviews with like these type of public figures, especially someone as personality driven as Cat is and as outspoken and controversial as Cat is, you can have a tendency to ask dumb questions or to try to make yourself the star of the interview. And Shannon allowed Cat to get his shit off. He allowed him to answer questions thoroughly, and he didn't talk over him or anything of the sort. And I really respect that because literally I watched another interview with Cat that came out recently this week that I was just telling Hashim about, and the dude who was interviewing him was asking really bad questions. Luckily, Cat is so insightful that he's so able to answer them with something of substance, but you saw the difference. So
Yeah, he did take his time. Cat off a rip. Cat just started talking. Like there's like 10 minutes straight off the beginning of the episode of
did you
Cat
watch the
just
whole
talking.
thing?
Yeah,
Mm.
beginning to end. Very entertaining. There, it didn't even feel like it was that long.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing other stuff while I was listening and watching, but it didn't feel that long. Very entertaining. Cat's funny as usual.
Was there
But
anything? Was there anything that stuck out to you like the more than most? Because it was a lot of things that was said, and obviously that was viral. But
when he said comedians don't get booed enough, I wholeheartedly agree
yes,
because there's a lot of people that are especially with social media, they're comedians, but they ain't really funny. But if you don't get booed, you don't know you're not funny, and you don't work on your material because you think, all right, this is good, I'm getting paid, blah blah blah. So
I've always.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna piggyback on what you said. I've always had the idea, especially like someone who like has watched battle rap throughout my life. I think it's better to be booed than to not get a reaction at all.
Feels the
And
same. Nah, keep
no,
going though.
no, but think about it though. Like you said, when you get booed, you're at least invoking a reaction. You're invoking a emotional response that the crowd is it's negative, but it's something to tell you, hey, this material that you're doing, that shit ain't working. You gotta switch it up. You gotta do something different. If you don't get no reaction though, and they're just sitting there, sitting on their hands, looking at you with the blank face, just like is this nigga done yet? Like that shit, I think is way worse because that means they don't even give a fuck. At least they care if they're booing you.
No,
Nah, I feel
I
like
think it's both the same.
yeah. I feel like
I,
it'll be silent and then they start booing.
no, not necessarily. I've seen performances on stages, whether it's comedy or battle rap or whatever, where no one said anything and it was just quiet, or people just talking amongst themselves, and it felt so disrespectful because
You,
literally nobody cared.
You could have been the one that started the slow clap, and then
All
everybody
right,
started.
wait, all right. Interview. Back to interview. What the hell? What, Bobby? What
Yeah,
moment
keep
stood out to you?
going.
I don't know what Hashim's talking about.
What else? What else stood out to me or Bobby?
So if you have more, Hashim, share. I don't know if any more stood out to you.
No, that's it. He talks about a lot of stuff and like Hollywood and how that whole Illuminati stuff with Ludacris.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah,
said
I don't
something
know
with
about.
Ludacris. Oh, I gotta watch the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Also, there's one thing that I don't know if that's true. He said I don't doubt that he's smart, but he said he read 3,000 books
Everybody
a
got on him
year.
about that part and some other stuff that I will say this. Katt definitely, and I didn't watch the whole interview, but I've seen so many clips of it. Like I have a strong idea of everything that was said, or most everything.
Mhm.
He definitely embellished on certain things that he said, but I think everything that applied to other people, especially the comedians, was very on brand and on point, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to the stealing jokes and the grouping, because a lot of times in like Hollywood, especially in this type of like entertainment industry, people are going to click up on some like high school shit and use their pull and politics to make other people have opportunities that maybe they shouldn't have, or just steal people's shit. Like and comedians have taught like Mark. There's a comedian named Mark Curry that Katt referenced, and he mentioned how Steve Harvey stole jokes from him, and we saw in clips went out about that, and that type of shit happens way too often. And so Katt putting that to the forefront and telling people that it's not new, but it's something that was needed to be said for sure.
It's funny how Katt Williams is airing out all the dirty business of the industry. Um, that's really the main thing that stood out to me. And part of me, I don't want to believe everything I hear. Like I don't want to discount anything he says, but when he's talking about people like coming up to his agency and telling him, "Oh, I'll give you this role in this movie if you let me suck your dick," I'm like,
Harvey Weinstein.
yeah, I'm like, all right, this is not the first time this man came up, but at the same time, just like, I just don't want to hear. I just want to be like, oh, yep, Katt Williams is right. I just want to take it with a certain air of, what's the word?
Hypnotism.
The thing is, I get what you're saying, but the thing is, the people and the things that he's alluding to are not things that we
It's
haven't.
not new.
Right,
It's
that's
not
what
new.
I'm
I know
saying.
that. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I don't know these people. I don't know the goings on because there might be someone fluffing up the story or something. I don't know. I just want to make sure I line up all the patterns up before I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what's going
but
on.
that's the thing. There's been proof of like the things he alluded to. It's not like he was just talking out of his ass. So that's what added to the validity and credibility of the things that he was saying. Was people saw the stealing of the jokes. People we already know about Harvey Weinstein and huge executives like him who have power, who've abused the power in a myriad of ways.
Yeah.
It's way more than just hearsay. It's
Mm-hmm.
way more than just like, oh, you should only listen to Katt Williams because we love Katt. Like, no, like the things that he said are things that like a lot of people feel and know of, but probably wouldn't be bold enough to say. And that's
Mm-hmm.
also a credit to him because
Well, yeah,
he
he aired it out.
Yeah,
Regardless,
yeah,
he,
yeah,
he
yeah,
aired it
yeah.
out.
exactly. And he's been doing this. This isn't something that he's always been against these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he's able to have this career for so long, still be touring and still be popular for 20, 25 years and not do these things like wear a
I will
dress, for
say,
example.
I'm not gonna lie, I will say it does make me look at certain things like as a pattern. Like why? Like I didn't think about it till now, but the whole Big Mama house, the Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Perry Medea. I think
Mm-hmm.
I forgot why the fuck Kevin Hart was dressed up as a girl. But I was like that. I
I think
saw
that was
that.
Saturday
It
Night
was.
Live.
Saturday Night Live.
I think so, yeah. If I remember correctly. It
Oh,
was
okay.
a
Well, it's
part
things like that where part of me is think, okay, they're comedians, they're acting up like that. But then I'm like,
You don't
why
have
the
to.
hell do they do that?
You don't have
And,
to.
and
you don't have to.
yeah, so I'm like, why the hell? and like Cass airing it out saying, I ain't doing that. Why are they making every black comedian man do that shit? And I'm like, that is a great ass question. That's a great ass question. And
And
honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Here's my confession. White chicks is a bit overrated.
I mean, it's been years since it's been out, so it gets
I
new
know, but
fans.
people really like state that like it's a gem, and I'm like, I mean, it has its funny moments, but it's like at the end of the day, maybe it's just me, but based on the whole comedian things, dressing up as women and like as only them targeted, I'm like, I don't know if I like that.
White Chicks is considered a classic because of nostalgia. If we're being honest, I wholeheartedly admit that myself as someone who has always been entertained by White Chicks. It's not a genuine comedy classic. It's very slapstick comedy. It's the Wayans brothers dressing up in women's clothing, playing as white girls. It's really the absurdity of the film that makes it funny.
Yeah.
It's not the actual like, oh, this is like hilarious type shit. So I get what you're saying though. I get what you mean. Hashim, what do you think about like a lot of black entertainers, especially comedians, wearing drag or women's clothing to
The thing is, they don't have to. Like, I don't understand. Like, just how he declined or modify his roles if they allow it.
Mhm.
You don't have to. So I don't know why they would do that.
Well, the thing is,
Um,
I
it's
don't
not funny.
it's not funny, A, and B, I think that a lot of them. Well, Tyler Perry is someone who is in a very stronghold position of power, so he was just doing it just to do it. But a lot of them probably felt like they had to do it. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying why they did it. They probably felt like they did need to do it in order to have a role in Hollywood that they wanted to have. So, oh, if I have to have this show, I have to dress up in this clothing and play a Shanae or something like that type of thing. Again, I'm not
Martin?
excusing it.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
I said Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. It's just a general. Just want to
Shut
see
up.
because he did talk about Bernie Mac and the other kings of comedy. Who do
Mm-hmm.
you think is the best in your preference? You got
How
Cedric
did okay?
out of the kings of comedy and Cat Williams.
We're throwing Cat in there or just the Kings of
Yeah,
Comedy?
throw Cat. Yeah, throw Cat in there.
It's definitely Bernie and Cat, and it's not really close to me at all. I've
Wally.
always felt that way.
I can't answer that. I know all of them, but I never really. I wasn't never the type to watch all the comedy shows. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if I see you in a show or a movie, and
Yeah.
maybe a comedy show here and there because I recognize you. I'll like you. But I can't sit down and say, oh, this one's like the king because I don't think I'm well versed in that realm. I know Bernie, I know Cat, I know Martin, I know Steve Harvey. Um,
Cedric.
um,
So,
huh?
so Wale, the original Kings of Comedy that Hashim's talking about is it came out in 2000. It was a tour and a movie that was made out of it. That was hold on. The original Kings of Comedy that Hashim was talking about is basically it came out in 2000. It was a tour that was turned into a movie, and it was Cedric the Entertainer, DL Hewley, Steve Harvey, and Bernie Mac on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what Kat was alluding to with that, because he was saying how it was supposed to be Steve's tour, but it turned into, you know, their tour because Bernie ended up finishing because it was Bernie Mac. So, and he clearly had the best set. Like it was universally, like anyone who was watching original Kings of Comedy, like objectively would say Bernie had the best set and was the funniest out of the four. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say it's between Bernie and Cat. Like it's a toss up. I love both of them. Hashim,
I say Bernie.
you say Bernie? That's fair.
I say Bernie. Bernie got me weak. Even in his TV shows, he began me weak.
His TV shows was hilarious.
Very
Uh,
much.
movies, just him on a normal day.
His mannerisms were hilarious too.
Yeah, like
So
he's Cat. I was gonna say Cat referred to it like you could be a comedian, but not a funny person. Like on the daily, you're not a funny person. I think Katt's a funny person, and also a comedian. I think Dave's a funny person and a comedian.
So
Steve Harvey, I don't know.
Let me ask you. So since you saw the original Kings of Comedy, because Katt alluded to Steve and them being very jealous of Bernie, especially Steve, because like he said, it was supposed to be his tour. Do you think that Steve was in the wrong for feeling some type of way about Bernie being the one to go last?
Bro, it shouldn't
do you
matter
think-
because either way, they're gonna be there for whoever they come for, right? If he a better comedian, get better jokes.
so to
Well,
speak.
I'm sorry, Steve. I've known you for years, but at that point, you just gotta get better. Yeah, at the time, you just had to get better jokes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
that should
sorry,
motiv-
man.
that would motivate you to do better, if anything.
It didn't, because he hasn't done stand-up since like, oh wait.
Motivate him to go on Family Feud. He making money.
Yeah.
Wrote a book. Think like a man.
So what do you guys think about like Katt having this smoke for Kevin Hart, so to speak, and saying that Kevin was basically an industry plant and wasn't someone that really he didn't do the usual steps that it takes as to go from a comedian to a movie star.
I don't know what he did or what Kevin didn't do. I just remember waking up out of nowhere at some point, like around high school or something, and then Kevin Hart was just there.
Right. But that's what Katt was saying. Because most times comedians, they have to go to LA, they have to go through different comedy clubs, they have to build a rapport to then, get a sitcom or to get a tour, like a special or something like that. Kevin Hart basically got it immediately without like doing the grunge work, according to Katt. So
I feel
what do you
like
think about that?
Kevin didn't really get because he did Soul Plane, right?
Yeah.
And then you didn't hear from him from a while. At least I didn't. And then he started making movies and TV shows, and then he's on everything with The Rock. I don't know what other show he
All
on,
right,
but
disclaimer. I'm just gonna put it out there. The movies he's in with The Rock,
Are
a
not
lot of them
good.
shits are not funny to me.
Thank you. Finally,
that's
someone's
fine.
being honest.
I'm sorry,
That's
because a
fine.
lot of that shit, that whole like legit, when they start busting out, like trying to talk about, that shit Kevin does, where he just keeps talking and talking and rambling, and I'm
Yes.
like, this is an SNL skit. Like, yo, proceed with the fucking movie. Like, if I had to say anything, if I had to make a list of comedians, to me, like, there's segments and clips where Kevin is doing the whole thing, a skit where he's being funny, like, oh, one pillow, one sheet, by myself. That's funny, but overall, he's not on my list as top 40 comedians, bro. If we're talking movies too, like, I just know, he just has the same shtick. I feel like, and it's very telegraphed. It's so obvious,
Mm-hmm.
and it's annoying.
Can I be honest with you, Wale? I
What?
wholeheartedly agree with you, but the reason he's in those positions to me is because he's white people funny. White people funny and
I
black
can see
people
that. I
funny
can see that.
are two different funnies.
I can see that.
Early in Kevin's career, he was black people's funny. He was. Early specials, if you watch from him from like a decade plus ago, he was black people funny. Then once he started becoming a real movie star, especially doing these roles with The Rock and everything, it was I'm sorry, Dwayne Johnson.
It's The Rock.
White people was funny.
I
He's The
think
Rock.
it's more. He's doing so much stuff, and he's trying to keep it family friendly, so he doesn't get canceled. Gets more offers.
Yeah,
You
he's
see,
doing
like
white people
he's
funny, like I said.
yeah, no, but I'm saying yes, but it's more family friendly. Like
Yep.
he ain't
Hashim,
Kurt.
I agree with that, because what was that movie we talked about, or series we talked about a while ago, where he was trying to cover up a murder or something? What was that called?
Yeah. I completely forgot. I
I
didn't
Oh,
even
it
forgot.
was on
finish watching the
Netflix.
series.
Yeah, that was a role where I'm like, oh, this is what Kevin can do. Okay,
Yeah.
this is some range I'd like to see. But we're going off. My fault. Anyways,
No, so the overall question was, do you guys feel like Kevin is deserving of the roles that he's been in, considering the path that he took?
Nobody's gonna really know his path. I say he's been getting a lot of roles. It could be that he's just more presentable to the general public.
He's safer.
Yes. So he could deserve it, but he works hard, I guess. I don't know. Like Kat says, just because you in all these stuff don't mean you work harder than another person or than us. But yeah, I say he deserves or he worked to get those roles. I don't think he's a industry plant, but granted, I'm not in that industry, so I don't know what Kat sees.
Mm.
I
Kat
would think
made it seem like he sees a lot though, and he have seen a lot.
I would think for Kevin Hart, maybe around the time he was, I guess, supplanted in the industry, I think times were changing. It didn't have to be. You have to have a comedy, numerous comedy shows, then a sitcom, then all this other stuff. I just think it had to something. The transition between when he was young and trying to get into the industry, Katt Williams, and versus Kevin Hart is just different.
Fair,
Um,
fair.
there's probably different things in the background he did. I don't know, but I can't answer that.
Okay.
I can just only go off of what Kevin Hart's a part of now. And I think in that movie we talked about or series, I saw range in that. He was with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
He
Wesley
didn't he
Snipes the
didn't seem
GOAT.
like a detriment to Wesley Snipes' role. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, he did some shit. He did his thing with Wesley
Exactly.
Snipes.
It's just a shame because you would wish that someone like Kevin will be able to show more of that and not do the same similar ass roles in these movies that he's been doing for well over a decade.
I mean, but
Mhm.
Especially someone that's supposed to be as funny and on top of the comedy world as he presents himself to be.
that's Hollywood though.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Actors are what typecasted? Is that the word?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them. The Rock is always in action movies. Good
He
luck
plays
finding
the
him.
same role in every movie, bro.
Yes, he plays The Rock
Yes.
in every movie.
Jumanji, all of that.
But if he's making money and he's getting offers for being this funny small guy that does a lot of talking in every movie, you gotta keep doing it. You get $20 million, I'll keep doing it. That's good
So
eats.
would y'all
I
take that
think
ludicrous deal where Kat said like you gotta just take a blood oath, just cut your sideburns off, cut your fro, you got Hashim, you gotta cut your hair. You get 200 mil for 20 movies, and half of them are Fast and Furious. You taking that? You taking that deal? That's a no.
No. I don't know what Cat was. Nah. Well, I think we both disagreed and said nah.
Okay, fair enough. There was another thing, a more serious thing, and this was a small clip I saw where Shannon asked Kat about Taraji P. Henson and like because she the rollout for The Color Purple. She's been doing a lot of interviews where she's been alluding to being underpaid for a long time, something that a lot of actresses, especially black actresses, have talked about. But like she's been really heavy on saying that she's been underpaid and she doesn't get as much of her white counterparts, even though she's been in the industry for like 30 years. And Kat made an analogy to comparing it to how we talk so much about caring about children, but yet we undermine teachers, we underpay teachers, and we don't budget and fund like schools and school districts and education enough. But we say we care about the kids. And I thought that was really insightful to me because like that's always been a hotbed topic in terms of like schooling and teachers not being paid enough. And comparing that to like even a higher scale with like actors and actresses, especially black actresses, like I thought that was very refreshing to hear someone in his position to say that.
Yeah, I think it's the same as it is for normal people or normal women, and especially women of like a minority, woman of color. You're gonna get paid than your counterpart as well. You gotta get paid less. You gotta get paid less than your male counterpart, and you gotta get paid less as your white female counterpart. That's business, which it shouldn't be. Let me say that right off rip. It shouldn't be, but it's just scaled up for her on movies. that they feel like, oh, she doesn't deserve it. Meanwhile, we might go to see the movie just because we know she's in it and she's a
Literally.
good actress. Gabrielle Union said the same thing a while back.
Monique.
Yeah, Monique was, and nobody cared about that one though.
Because everyone looked at Monique as selfish for her reasoning for saying it when she was complaining about Netflix. And maybe she could have approached it a better way, so to speak, but her sentiment all these years later was very accurate. So, Wale. Oh boy. Oh boy. I can see that face. You about to say something crazy.
So restate the question for me, so I make sure I got all my dots right.
Okay, so it wasn't so much a question. I was just alluding to how Katt had kind of bigged up Taraji P. Henson and used the analogy of how teachers are underpaid, but we talk about how much we care about like kids and how Black actresses and Black, actors in general are underpaid as well. Kind of like alluding to like the
So in that case, there's nothing I could state that you guys haven't stated already. It's not right. On the part of Monique could have been stated better to help her case. So there's that. If anything, this is going to segue to what I was going to ask you guys as to after this interview, what are your impressions walking away from this interview now? What has anything changed your perspective? Have you learned something new? Is it something new to you, like, or something you knew already? Like, what did you walk away with this?
I feel like we low key knew all these stuff, and it's just like having somebody that's in the industry say it. It's like, yeah, damn, now, and it's verified. Like, I feel like everybody knows content gets stolen on all different levels, especially if one person's more popular than the other person telling the joke. Right? The same way for video content that we have nowadays. Same thing happens. As for all the like Illuminati stuff, yeah, that's interesting, but that I feel like that stuff where there's nobody that's able to prove it is just like hearsay.
If you're in it, but
yes,
if you're not in it, it's more so just kind of like conspiracy, even though it's probably a real thing.
Yeah. So I feel like everything that he said is just verifying the things that we already like had in the back of our heads.
Bobby?
I think for Katt individually, I like Hashim said, a lot of the stuff I'm already been privy to for a long while. Like since we were kids, we've been hearing about a lot of this type of stuff. I think Katt it just re-emphasizes the level of respect that I have for him as not just as a comedian legend, but like as someone who is unwillfully defiant, so to speak. Like this felt like a defiant type of thing. Like I'm gonna go to Shannon Sharp, who's got a major platform. I'm gonna help out Shannon Sharp's platform because he's been getting tons of buzz from this. A lot of people didn't even know he had a podcast. This helped that a lot for him. And for Katt, it just re-emphasized his legendary status as well. Like for him to be in the industry this long, to be saying these things, to be blacklisted, to be arrested, to be targeted, and still be able to go touring, and 1,000 people want to see him, and so many people virally watching him and saying like, "Yeah, Katt, we're with you, we stand with you, bro." All that type of shit. Like that's dope. Is it going to affect the people that he was talking to or talking about? Realistically, probably not because they are already in the mainstream. The only hope I would say is that people learn from this who are trying to get into this industry, and people have to decide what are you willing to do in order to get put on, so to speak. And I think that was his overall purpose of telling the truth and telling his truth and telling his side of the story with everything. What are you willing to do to get put on?
I would say, yeah. So for me, on the Illuminati bits, as long as I've heard about that fucking group, and I've been tired. I'm not one for conspiracies. I hate them because it's like, yo, I'm someone who needs proof. Stop talking. Show me some damn proof. And that's been one lingering thing for years. As long as I remember like ninth grade when or something like that, or seventh grade when I first heard that damn name, and I'm like, where's the proof? But it's being said for a reason, so there's gotta be something. Like what's the saying? Myths or something are born from some kind of truth or some level of truth. It came from somewhere.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, basically.
Yeah, it came from
Bars.
somewhere. So I'm gonna keep my eyes and ears open, but until then, I'm not gonna like kill myself over it. You feel me? So,
but here's the thing, though. Question: How can you really provide proof of a secret, not so secret society?
like I said,
that is
I
controlled.
don't.
No, but listen, Lee, listen to what I'm saying.
Mm,
How can people like Katt or someone else who's talked about it provide proof of something when you got NDAs, when you got people who are like have this power and wealth who are clearly trying to submerge the idea of this? Like, how do
go
you
against your NDA.
so you could get sued?
If someone legit came
What?
out with the, I'm just saying, it takes that level of extreme, I guess, to uproot this. If someone went that far, if they really want to oust these motherfuckers and went against the NDA, then I'd be like, oh, okay,
Brother,
we got something.
But
Now,
but are we
granted,
gonna
not
again,
being
believe them?
realistic.
But are we gonna
like
believe them? Honestly, are we gonna believe them? It's one person.
it's
I
an
They
believe
got
I
NDA,
video
believe it
proof.
because I've heard it
but
from dozens of people.
it's an NDA though. Like that level of defiance with a dramatic consequence like that, I would think it's like, okay, someone's trying to silence them. But again, I don't know what I just I just hate hearing about it sometimes. I'm just like, all right, damn. It's like, do I take this with a grain of salt or do I just put it in my back pocket for later, just in case? That Illuminati shit is whatever. All the other stuff that Katt Williams brought about, it cemented some things that the industry has dirt. So I do respect him from that for coming out and obviously supporting someone else in their podcast talking about it. And yeah, just showing that he's still putting that work. It's not all for nothing. He has his reputation, his presence, his pride, his dignity all intact. I respect that, if anything. And yeah, I just wonder what's going to happen now regarding going forward with this. I don't know if
You
it'll have a
know,
big impact on people, but I'm curious to know what happens after this.
You know what I've noticed too with all these responses, because you talk about this many everybody responding from Luda to Kevin to
Ice
Steve,
Cube.
Ricky, Ice Cube, all these people, right? From everything I've seen and heard from the responses, not one of them denounced what he actually said. Everybody either said a joke, said that he was bitter, said that he was a hater, said that he was on drugs. The same thing that they've been saying about him. But none of them said that he was flagrantly wrong. Outside of like the books and the speed thing and that type of shit. But
Yeah,
like the shit that he said about them, nobody said that he was wrong. And nobody had any response to him talking about their wives too, which is crazy to me.
Oh, I saw that. Someone explained that to me then, because I looked at it. I'm like, is it because they're all light skinned? Like, I'm confused. Like, what's the?
he said that was part of a deal that he was talking about with Ludacris.
Mm-hmm. You get a light-skinned wife with a bad face from his point of view.
And then you get the 20 million with all the movies and stuff.
And nobody said nothing to defend their wife. That's actually crazy to me. Of all the things, nobody said nothing about that.
I feel like it's also hard for them to go back to talk back to Katt because once he a comedian, so
But these are a lot of these are comedians though.
He a better comedian.
Okay,
so you're gonna get cooked either way. So you might as well, you should defend it for sure, but it's probably gonna be you're gonna get cooked.
I mean,
it's probably a case where if they argue with him, they'll probably like step on the landmine and oust themselves. While Calvin is he's just like, oh, good job, dickhead. Now I'm gonna sit here looking mighty right now.
It's a lose-lose situation.
But but the reason I say that though is exactly to what I was saying to Wale. Is like that's why I believe a lot of what he said, and that's why a lot of people believe a lot of what he said has truth in it, because the fact that these people, as big as they are, as powerful as they are not denouncing everything that he said, says a lot about like, oh, there might be validity to the things that he's saying. And we've seen, and like we said, we've seen some of this stuff too. So you can't be like, oh yeah, we didn't steal jokes. Nigga, we saw you steal the joke. Like in 4K or 40 PF, whatever. So it's just like
Last thing I'm gonna say, it's too late. Because they already stole the jokes, got the laughs, got famous, got the money. It's too late. They're already successful. Man
that's what
has
I'm
7
saying.
shows. Sexual entertainer already. He good. It's too late. Besides, everything's too late.
So you don't think there's any lasting impact from this interview outside of just like, Katt being, getting the respect and
I feel like people will be more aware of jokes being told, and by who tells them, and as well as the dress aspect is going to be more apparent. But I feel like everything else is, huh?
It's not going to be the dressing part. Isn't going to be more apparent though.
I think people will take notice of it and then refer back to Katt Williams' video.
But that's always been referenced though. That's like I said, that's been an issue where people have felt like black men entertainers, not just comedians, have had to wear dresses as like a humiliation ritual or as a thing to get put on or to be considered funny. I even saw a video where people was like, oh, well, look, there's white comedians that did the same thing, like Robin Williams. Bro, it's not the same thing, bro. Like, these people, like, the amount of black male entertainers that's had to wear dresses or do something that seemingly emasculates them for no apparent reason that doesn't add anything to them outside of them just getting more opportunities. Like, you can't act like that's not a coincidence. You feel me? Like, let's be realistic.
Well, if you guys have any last thoughts.
Oh shit, I do. As far as the impact, I think probably Hashim, you probably said it's too late. Like they're already famous, blah blah blah. It's the people under them now. The next people trying to come up.
Yeah,
they'll probably avoid this path, or they'll be viewed with a more like harder lens, where it's like, oh, what are you doing to come up? You feel me? People, it's gonna be harder to probably navigate, or people refuse to navigate in those controversial ways and find their own path that's not as demeaning. So I think that's where the impact lies. So yeah, that's all I got.
Bobby.
Oh, my fault. I thought you said
he looked into the camera with something.
Looked into my soul, bro.
He's like,
I think the lasting impact, I think, is more so on a personal level. I think it, like I said, it boosts up Club Shay Shay to an nth degree. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, I think like 3 of the most popular viewed videos he has now is
Brittany Renner. Definitely with Brittany Renner.
Well,
yeah,
no,
for sure.
His Katt one is the most though. This one,
I'm just saying, but that's like one of his top. I know that.
Yeah. Steve, funny enough, is like number 2. I've been looking on his page, but nevertheless, I think it boosts up Club Shay Shay and looks at Shannon in a great way as an interviewer. I think it continues the longevity of Katt because now people can go watch his show and get re-familiar in case they have become lax with his comedy and his tours and stuff because he's been touring. For the people that he talked about, I don't think it changes much, like Hashim said, because they're already made men. But in the industry, I mean, the industry is rooted evil from the core. So I don't think it's going to be that much that changes from it overall. But individuals themselves can choose a better path to being in the forefront and in the limelight. And that's the greatest hope that I think can come from this. So I appreciate Katt for spitting game and being funny while doing it, because he has some great jokes.
Yeah. Shout out that boy Katt.
Cat in the Hat.
Cat in the Hat, yeah.
I didn't even know that was his name until they said it. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
Cat in the Hat. Well, thank you guys for watching. As we always say, if you want to be a guest on this show, let us know. Hit us up on this man eating. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, any of our platforms, any of our individual platforms. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Look forward to the upcoming episodes coming out.
Yes.
And thank you guys for watching. Follow us on all social medias. Peace.